Hi there, Kotaku. We are here at a Sony PlayStation 4 event with Mr. John Blow, and we're taking a look at The Witness running on PS4. And John's just going to show us some one of the puzzles from the game and sort of talk a little bit about how it works.
Yeah, so this is from the very early part of the game. There's a tutorial area that I've just exited that teaches me the basics, and then I come out here, and from this point I can roam around this island, and there's all sorts of different places I could go. So just in this one scene, I see 3 different places I could go to do 3 different kinds of puzzles. There's right over here on my left, there's this one row of panels. In the middle here, there's some kind of rock structure with some stuff on it. And then over here on the right, there's this pink trees, and you can see a glowing panel here. And we try to provide this kind of choice to the player all the time, is you can see something you're interested in, go follow that thing and see where it leads. And if you decide you don't actually want to go there right now, you can turn around, and there's other interesting things right next door. So anyway, I'm going to go over here to these puzzles, and I'm going to talk about the basic way that these panel puzzles in this game work. And I'm going to use some relatively simple ones so that I don't spoil the game too hard. These are not representative of the most interesting things in the game, but they are representative of the way the puzzle language in the game works, right? So I've got this row of panels, and only the first one is turned on, and I walk up to it, and I don't necessarily know what to do. I can draw a line, and I draw it from this circle at the beginning to the end, and there's different directions I can draw the line, but it didn't like that direction, right? So I can try some things. I can try this, and it didn't like that. The pretty obvious, intuitive thing to try is that, and the puzzle accepts that and lights up the next one. You don't need to, at this point, have a theory in your head about why that's the right thing to do, but you can just start doing more puzzles. You might intuitively do this one and get it right. You might try something like this and get it wrong, and then think about why that was wrong, and you might try this, and that might also be right, which is further information. So that the puzzles are sort of neutrally presenting you with a situation and letting you solve it. At first, something tremendously simple, but as we go on, it becomes more complex. So here we've added a 3rd box, and now there's 2 little black spots and 1 white spot, but most people at this point will pretty much do this. We bring it up to 2 dimensions, and maybe you randomly flail for a second and go like, oh, that didn't work. But pretty quickly people do that. So at this point I can start to build a theory about what I'm doing, right? Oh, I guess I'm sort of cordoning off this white spot from the black spots, or maybe I'm just separating them or something. The game will never tell you, right? You have to tell yourself. And develop your sense of what these puzzles are asking, right? So here I'm further along. Now it's not just 2-dimensional, but there's multiple white spots and multiple black spots. So, but I have an idea of what I'm doing, so I'm going to separate them. And now I'm like, wait a minute, isn't this the same thing I just did? But actually, the place I need to go is out here, which highlights the fact that my line can't pass over itself. So, in the process of presenting this idea about what these spots mean and how you interact with them with your line, there's a little curveball of like, oh yeah, well actually, if you just sleepwalk through it, it might not work, but actually if you go around this way, it'll work. So that brings in the idea that the direction that you wind around these spots actually might matter sometimes, right? Here we have 2 disjoint groups of white spots and an empty square now, which we didn't have before. And it's like, oh, what do? Do I include that with the white spot? Do I not? It turns out it doesn't matter, but you can find that out by experimentation. Here again, we've got 2 disjoint groups of white spots, but if I start doing the same thing before, I see that I'm cutting off my exit, right? So it's just a reminder, like, oh yeah, it matters which way you go. So I'm going to go this way. But the reason it matters is actually different than before. The reason it matters is because there are 2 disjoint groups. It's a little bit subtle. And then here, well, I can start going around the normal way, and it's like, oh, like I just said, cutting off the exit, obviously I'm not going to be able to get out, right? Well, that's not going to work. So let me try going around the other way, but I also cut off the exit. I don't know what to do, but I'll leave the solution to that as an exercise for the people at home. But anyway, so let me just fly the camera up for a second. There may be some streaming artifacts here, but so the puzzles I was doing are right down here, and there's an island full of different themed locations with puzzles that all behave differently, that have slightly different variants on this kind of puzzle language, all of which you go into knowing nothing, and you, in the process of exploring that area, you learn how you do those puzzles. So,
well, it's very cool. So that's
Anything
The Witness.
else that I can answer?
No, I think so. It's coming out the first half sometime of next year.
I hope so, yes.
All right. Well, there it is. That's John Blow with The Witness running on PS4. Looking very cool. Thanks a lot, John.
Thanks, man.